Welcome to the LemnaTec Academy. With this video, we have our first look at LemnaGrid. These videos are based on LemnaGrid 24.6, unless stated otherwise. But before we start, we need to understand the workflow of creating an analysis and executing it on many snapshots in more detail. We start with the user and some example images. The user opens a development interface and creates an analysis based on example images. This interface is LemnaGrid. One may call the result of this the analysis program or the analysis code. The analysis is then added to the database by Lemna experiment. We will come to this part in class 3. The analysis executor picks analysis jobs and the analysis code from the database and starts some program to execute this analysis code. This is again LemnaGrid. We have seen this in action before in the video about executing analyses. Hence, LemnaGrid serves two purposes. It's a graphical development environment for the development of image analyses. It is also a tool to execute these analyses. If we talk about LemnaGrid in these videos, we focus on the graphical development environment side of LemnaGrid. By the way, if you know LabVIEW or LEGO Mindstorms, the concept of LemnaGrid might look familiar to you. But now let's have a look into the actual software. LemnaGrid in its development capacity is started from the icon on the desktop. After loading screen, we reach this screen. Here we select LemnaGrid Expert. Please note this screen might be omitted in future versions of LemnaGrid. We will jump right into the screen we see now. This screen has 3 sections. A list of buttons on the left. The most important functions here are to save and load analysis files. We have 2 buttons to save and load analysis files called IAC. IAC stands for Image Analysis Configuration. The other 2 save and load buttons are for different database systems which we no longer ship with new systems. However, LemnaGrid still supports it for legacy customers. Another list of buttons is on the right. This is to navigate between pages. It no longer serves any meaningful purpose. In the center we have what might be called the analysis editor. It in itself has 4 sections. The analysis canvas, where the actual analysis is developed. Left of it is a list of what we call devices. These are the elements from which an analysis is created. You may call this our device repository. More on this in a moment. Below the analysis canvas, we see the documentation of the last selected device. In the bottom left corner, we have an overview of the whole analysis. Since the analysis is yet rather small, it is more a magnification. But as the analysis grows, it becomes more and more a thumbnail of the analysis. In LemnaGrid, analyses are created by dragging devices from the device repository onto the analysis canvas and connect them with some sort of wires. If you start LemnaGrid, it will always present you with a very minimal analysis to start with. LemnaGrid includes many devices. Therefore, they are sorted into groups. Some groups even have subgroups. We will learn more about quite a number of them during the software training, but not in this video. Almost all devices have input and output ports to connect them to other devices. Only so-called reader devices have only outputs. These devices read data from a given source. There are special reader devices supporting a legacy database system. Their names start with DB. You can safely ignore them. They have no use with a modern database system. One of the devices from the minimal start analysis belongs to these devices, hence we can remove it. You find the reader devices in the I/O group in the subgroup Input. On the other hand, writer devices have only inputs. They write the analysis results to the file system and/or the database. You find the writer devices in the I/O group in the subgroup Output. All other devices have inputs and outputs. In order to create an analysis, we have essentially to do three things. Drag the required devices on the canvas, connect them as required, and parameterize them. To connect two devices, you drag the cursor from an output to an input until a green plus appears at the mouse pointer. And voila, we have a connection. In order to parameterize the devices, we have to double-click them. This opens the configuration dialog. Let's have a look at one. This dialog looks essentially always the same. On the right, we have a field where we can change the parameters. These parameters are different for every device. On the left, we have one or two images. Reader and writer devices have only one image. The others have two. I will come to them in a second. Below the image, we have the device description. This is a disk reader device, so let's load an image. Images are normally displayed with 100% magnification. That is, 1 pixel in the image is 1 pixel on the screen. In order to fit it into the available space, we need to press the F key. If we press now the green check mark, we accept the changes and exit the dialog. Let's look into another configuration. This time we look on the device we dragged on the canvas in the beginning. This device has two images. On the left we have the input image and on the right the image created by this device. This device detects fore and background regions by colors you select. We select colors for the background by selecting first on the right the background section and then moving the mouse to a point in the input image where this color is and select this color. We do the same for the foreground. And we keep iterating this process until we are satisfied. You see, with every color we add, the results image changes. While we are in this dialog, let me explain two more elements you should know. All over LemnaGrid you will find these folded and unfolded sections. You can identify them by this handle. For instance, the description and the parameter area are such sections. Besides essentially every image in the configuration dialog, there is an unfolded section as well. With this section you can change how this image looks. We may choose different colors to represent fore and background. Let's choose some brown for background and some green for foreground. If we are done with this dialog, we will close it using the check mark. You may have noticed that the output port of the and foreground-background separator looks different. This is because each image which travels along these wires is of a particular type. Not all devices accept every type as input. On the contrary, the pattern on the ports indicate which image types are allowed. The all-black ports means it accepts or creates images with different types, but not all types. If you hover over the port, you see the list of allowed image types. I hope you got a first impression of LemnaGrid and its elements. In the next video, we will create our first analysis with LemnaGrid, albeit a very simple one to start with. See you there.